What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
Hello. Welcome in. I am not your host with the most time on his hands, Thomas Tipple. Tom is in rest and recovery mode as he works his way back into the swing of things post Canton. I am, of course, Jacob Sanderson. I am with you here, as always, with Lucas Gilbert at LGilbertFF and Ryan Heath at RyanJ_Heath to break down a pretty big week in the Dynasty fantasy football landscape. We've had a bunch of injuries. We've had a bunch of rumors. We've had about 80 different tweet updates on Brandon Ayuk. And we had the first week of preseason. How are you guys doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing
good.
Great.
Yeah, and I understand why Tom goes directly. How are you doing, Ryan? There we go.
Look at us getting about a minute into the show without Tom. All right. Yeah, I'm doing
Dunkin'
good.
Donuts today?
No Dunkin' Donuts today. My only fun fact was going to be that I have not read a single Brandon Ayuk update for the last 48 hours because I don't care. I've just completely tuned out anything having to do with Brandon
Thanks for
Ayuk.
putting in the work for this podcast. I appreciate
it. I put in the work.
Lucas and I hold it down.
Yeah, except for Brandon Ayuk, because there's so much interesting stuff to pay attention to right now. We have actual preseason games, actual football being played, but we're still talking about Brandon Ayuk. Why do we have to do that?
All right, Lucas, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. We actually got some football to watch. Got to look and see how I'm already wrong on all of my rookie takes, so that makes me feel great so far. Saying, yeah, we need to go get all those New England pass catchers for them to do nothing. But it's just one preseason game, and it's tough to make too many judgments. But would have loved to have been a little bit more hyped about some of like the super back of the weeds rookies that people are barely paying attention to. But still got 2 more weeks of this stuff.
I don't know if that came through on camera. I fear it probably didn't, but in British Columbia, they don't really have screens on windows, and they also don't have air conditioning. So the summer is just a constant battle of whether you want flies in your house or whether you want to just bake alive. And so I had a little fruit fly buzzing around in my peripheral vision, and I just caught it with my bare hand and squished it. And it was honestly one of the sickest things that I've ever done. So I'm in mid-season form. I have better hands than Jonathan Mingo, that's for sure. Let's start. We're going to go in 3 sections today. Okay. So we're going to start with sort of the injuries, the rumors, the news items. Then we're going to dive in a little bit to the preseason stuff. We can either talk usage, we can talk performances. We're going to go with a couple takes that moved us or didn't move us. And then we're going to have a 5 for 5. And Ryan, this would be the one for you. There's no players from the mid-90s today. There's no obscure questions about Heisman Trophy winning seasons in 1992. All of the 5 for 5 answers today, and no looking up stats in the middle of this episode, but all of them are going to be based on what happened in the preseason week 1 performances. So
it's going
to be an even training.
Oh no!
Seeing how well I actually prepared after I just said I prepared great for everything but Brandon Ayuk.
We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out. That's for sure. All right, let's. We're not gonna have time because I know that we tend to ramble, especially without Tom driving the bus here to keep us somewhat on track. I'll run down quickly sort of the big news headlines, and then each of you maybe pick one that you think is worth chatting about. So we have the Brandon Ayuk updates that have continued throughout the day. Is he going to be a Steeler? Is he going to be a 49er? We have the JJ McCarthy meniscus injury. We have potential injuries to Jahmyr Gibbs, to Hollywood Brown, to believe Nabers. We had the Tyron Tracy not season-ending injury. Other nicks and bruises assorted. Ryan, I'll let you kick it off. What's the biggest piece of news you want to discuss here?
Yeah, I guilty as charged. I put Tyron Tracy on the show sheet, so I'm going to talk about him. So just want to paint the picture of how I experience this news is I walk out of my lunch break, get my desk job, kind of open Twitter. It's Tyron Tracy is surrounded by his teammates and being airlifted. I think it said aircast or something. It sounded very dramatic and horrible. And not 15 minutes later, Rap Sheet is tweeting, "Oh, well, it's a low ankle sprain, and also he's going to see significant playing time this year." So, that's good to hear. We went from totally Jover to back with so quickly. So, yeah, and the preseason usage also for Tyron Tracy kind of backs up that sentiment. It seems like he's pretty clearly the RB2 behind Devin Singletary. That's not a bad spot to be in at all for a day 3 pick. So, yeah,
I thought the preseason usage. I thought the preseason usage on Tracy was just phenomenal in terms of that he gets what we're dreaming a running back gets, which is clear-cut number 2 usage, but gets overshadowed by the Eric Gray touchdown where, I was at work, I think, or I was doing something. I was not looking. I wasn't watching the game. So all I'm doing is just sort of seeing some Twitter updates. And I see all the buzz about Eric Gray. My assumption is Eric Gray started the game, was incredible. It's Gray stocks up. Then I go look at the snap count. I go, oh, Tracy got the start. He's pretty clearly the 2 here, even if Gray's the one getting the hype. I thought we were going to have a really nice buying opportunity anyway, probably even a better one now with it's just a low ankle sprain, right? Like he's probably playing week 1, which is kind of crazy after it seemed like his career was over for about 15 minutes. Lucas, do you have any crazy thoughts, or what was the big thing that stands out to you and Dynasty take from that?
I think right now it's probably the Hollywood injury. That's kind of one of the bigger ones, especially there was just so much hype going into that offense for the season. And it makes me a little bit more excited about Xavier Worthy, but it just means that the time for you to be able to acquire him and not pay a premium on top of him already being in a really good offense, that's all gone. If Hollywood Brown can't go early on the season, people are going to put unfair expectations on Xavier Worthy to be producing. It's going to drive his cost up, but might mean that there's going to be a buying window a little bit later on in the season whenever we start hearing about Hollywood Brown coming back. And there aren't many rookies who come into the NFL and are immediately producing in week 1. It does take some time, especially for wide receivers. JJ Zagreason's done, I don't even know how many studies about rookie wide receivers and how they progress throughout the season, but he's done a lot. There is a significant bump. I think it's over 3 fantasy points per game between, I think it's the second half of the season versus the first half of the season. So that's a very significant bump, but people aren't going to care about that whenever they see him in the starting lineup during week 1. So look for a potential buying window later on. And I still think that he's a really good dynasty asset, but be very careful about how you're buying. And sorry, I just saw on the show sheet you do have something about him later on, but I hope that doesn't take too much.
I'll get to my point later on. I'm quite encouraged by what we saw from him so far in the preseason. The big dynasty nugget I think that is going to affect the landscape the most is the JJ McCarthy injury. We don't know the entirety of what it's going to be, the nature of the meniscus surgery, and this is pretty universal across football, basketball. Whenever there's been meniscus injuries, is they won't know whether it's going to be the trim or whether it's going to be the, I don't know if it's, what's it called? The repair or it's like something. There's a long one and a short one. One of them's called a trim, and I can't remember what the other one's called. But basically, there's the trim would be 4 to 6 weeks. And the other thing, which I think is called the repair, ends up being a much longer timeline. Jalen Ramsey had that last year, was able to come back towards the end of the season. So even if he had the longer timeline option, it's possible he comes back late in the year. I think Irv Smith might have also come back very late season from a meniscus repair surgery in the offseason. I want to say 2-3 years ago. But at that point, if he's not coming back until, December, he may as well just not be a factor this year. Probably pretty unlikely that he starts any games at all, unless maybe he comes back. They think he's fully healthy and they're totally out of it, and they let him have 1 or 2 chances to set up. If it's the 4 to 6 weeks, even still, Sam Darnold, he was already starting this year. Let's talk about this. We already have BW in the chat. Well, we got probably the two most prescient questions, I think. So we'll start with Rockcast because you have it pulled up. Redraft question: with JJ going down, how does it affect your outlook on Jefferson this season? How far down do you move him? And, we can discuss this from Dynasty Lens too if you want. it doesn't affect it a ton. I haven't actually made the rankings update yet, but I know what I'm going to do. I had Jefferson in redraft ranked as the last player in my tier 1 at 7th overall. I'm going to move him now to the first player in tier 2 and still be at 7th overall, but I'm going to move him down a slight tier. I think Darnold is going to be surprisingly fine. I've been consistent in my praise of Kevin O'Connell and my critique of some of the quarterbacks that have piloted these McShanny offenses. I think that Darnold's going to be a lot more efficient than he's ever been in his career. I also do think that even though I don't necessarily think the most of the Tua Purdy Goff types, I do think that they can do a thing, which is deliver the ball on time, in stride, accurately over the middle of the field. I don't really know if that's Sam Darnold's game. I think Kevin O'Connell's going to scheme up a lot of opportunities. I don't know that he's going to consistently hit the singles that are given to him in this offense. And the hope was that McCarthy could, or at the very least, that out of the two of them, one of them ends up being able to supply Jefferson. So I do think it's a meaningful downgrade. What do you guys think about Jefferson? And then we can talk about BW's question and how we're affecting this to the McCarthy landscape in Dynasty.
I think that 7th overall ranking is about right. I would just say as far as Jefferson goes this season and how I'm viewing him differently, it's a hit to the ceiling, right? Like that now I would say very unlikely that we look up in week 8 and it's, oh wow, JJ McCarthy is actually incredible, like an above average talent that is going to elevate the guys around him and is going to allow Jefferson to compete for like wide receiver 1 overall, right? I think that scenario gets less likely now. It obviously depends some on what the injury timeline ends up being, but that is what I would say there. But yeah, I mean, if you were drafting Jefferson kind of anywhere within this first tier of wide receivers, like with your Jamar Chases and your Amon-Ra St. Browns, like you were already kind of buying into, okay, that like anyone can run this Kevin O'Connell offense. Was going to be Sam Darnold for at least a few weeks at the beginning of the year, regardless. So I don't think like the base case is that affected. I think it's really just if you were looking for like a league winning performance out of Justin Jefferson this year, I think it just became less likely. So maybe that's an argument to push him back even further in redraft. Maybe that means I won't draft him at all, like anywhere near like the middle of the first round. But I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at. Is I had trouble seeing the ceiling, and I still do for this year. For Dynasty, I don't really care at all.
Lucas, I'll pose a specific question to you. Justin Jefferson or AJ Brown for this year?
I'm still going to go with Justin Jefferson. That is a tough one. So I think I have Amon-Ra over Jefferson now, but Jefferson's sitting there at my wide receiver 5, and I'm okay with that. That is a little bit tougher than pre-injury. It makes you think a little bit more, but I'm still going with Jefferson. And like Ryan said, I don't think it really affects us with regards to Jefferson long-term in Dynasty. So
certainly not. We'll get to BW's question now. Are we accepting random 2025 first for JJ McCarthy? I'm not. I don't. This doesn't have a massive impact for me. The only way that this really impacts my Dynasty teams is like I have one 14-team league where I really need a JJ McCarthy to win this starting job sooner than later, just so that I would be able to have his points in the quarterback position this year. But I think any other team that I have a JJ McCarthy share, I think I'm not really planning on him to play for me unless he comes out and he's awesome. I think I'm covered at quarterback regardless. So if anything, you're probably, trying to trade for a quarterback if this happens to really impact you. I don't really know what trading JJ away for a 2025 first accomplishes you. It's not really like other positions to me where the loss to year 1 just means you never get a chance to show what you can do. Like I understand Trey Lance is the counterexample to this, but he's the exception that proves the rule. JJ McCarthy is going to get opportunities to be the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. I don't think we have to worry about cashing out for a 2025 first right now. Either of you guys feel differently?
No, I agree. I think his value is just kind of on ice until he hits the field. It's kind of like having a 2025 random first. Yeah. Like there's not a whole lot that's going to move it up or down right now.
But the
Yeah,
nice
and
thing with this 2025 random first is that's actually a quarterback.
Yeah.
And this 2025 class right now, the quarterbacks, there's not anything like this previous class where we already knew going in that there were at least 4 quarterbacks we were going to be excited about. There's maybe 2 that people can get a little bit excited about in this current projections right now. It can all change in the fall, but yeah, I'm definitely sticking with JJ McCarthy. It would need to be 25 random 25 first plus to make me move off of him, because even if you are tanking, like, because that's why you would move him for a pick. If he's not playing, he's not going to be adding to your score. So just sit on the value. It's all insulated value.
yeah, this is not the Dynasty Points Devi show, but I do think it's worth noting that, as we dig more and more into class of 2025, which still has a lot of room to take shape here. I think I've said it before on this program, but my plan as of like this moment is to kind of be moving out 2025 first before it really gets into the mainstream among the Dynasty consensus that it does not project to be a very good class. And then once that sort of hits the mainstream, I'll probably start buying them again at hopefully a bit of a discount. The quarterback class in particular, Jayden Daniels this time last year was not someone that we considered was going to be going in the top half of first rounds of Dynasty drafts. So it's not as though there can't be someone that emerges. Maybe Jaden Milroe hooks up with Caleb DeBoer, has an incredible season, and now you have this rushing dual threat first round quarterback to consider. But right now it's like, Carson Beck is like sort of the default QB1 in real life in the class, and he's kind of a JJ McCarthy type, right? So that's potentially concerning. All right, we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about what we just saw in preseason week 1. Back in about a minute. All right. If you are like Ryan, if you are like Lucas, and you dominate your league at home, your office, your family, anyone that you want to play fantasy with, it's time to take your game to the next level. The next level, of course, is the FFPC. It is the place to play fantasy football this summer. There are no salary caps. There's no DFS. There's no new formats to learn. It is just the pure drafting fun that you've always loved. FFPC is home to multiple $1 million grand prizes, massive best ball tournaments, competitive dynasty leagues, and a multitude of exclusive formats. Drafts are filling every single day at myffpc.com. That's myffpc.com. Begin your pursuit of millions today at myffpc.com. I was drafting on myffpc.com just last night. It was my first bullet into the $350 Fantasy Pros Championship. I just wrote up a review of that team on Thinking About Thinking. So if you want to play on FFPC over the next 3 weeks, I would say there's probably a 50-50 shot you're going to see me in your lobby. I'm going to be drafting probably about 8 to 9 entries into the $350 tournament. I'm going to be drafting 2 of the main event teams, a couple of those solo, a couple of those with co-managers. If anyone wants to draft against me, I think there's spots available. I'm drafting at the 11 p.m. Eastern time, 8 p.m. Pacific, $350 Fantasy Pros Championship room on FFPC. If someone wants to hop in that lobby, I make sure to DM me and don't take my players.
All going to be from
that's your ad right there.
Every draft from the 112 this year for you.
Yeah, I was from the 112. Exactly. It was a true joy. I don't know if I was lucky that I got the 112 on the day of the Jahmyr Gibbs injury, or if I was unlucky, because I probably, had it happened a day earlier and Jahmyr Gibbs was there, I probably wind up taking him instead of Taylor, and then I would have been really annoyed. But he also might have gone ahead of me, and then I could have gotten Puka and Garrett Wilson. I don't know. These are the things that keep me up at night. But all right, let's get into some preseason takeaways. We'll start with Lucas this time. Anything from the preseason, I'll either put this as something that you really did care about, and it can be usage-based, it can be performance-based, it can be whatever you want it to be, or maybe something that you see people freaking out about that you think they're freaking out about too much. Either way, what do you got for us?
All right, so I'm going to actually start with things that people are freaking out probably a little bit too much, and it is some of the RB2 performances in the preseason. I mean, we love getting to see some of these depth pieces actually go out and play, because we never see them play during the regular season because they're depth pieces for a reason. But with some of these rookies, and particularly Braelon Allen, that's the one that's getting me a little bit right now. He had some hype going into last season, kind of disappointed because he's a massive back, has a lot of power, and never runs like he has any until apparently during the preseason, he's already completely changed the way he runs the football. And he actually looked like he was a big guy running the football. So I'm still very skeptical. He is not one of the RB2s that I would be rushing to move up my draft boards, as in here's going to be the potential steal. Now, getting the handcuff to Breece Hall, who's already had an ACL injury before, that's not necessarily a bad idea, but I don't think you should be overreacting to a performance like that whenever you have these very clearly established players already in front of them. There were others throughout the preseason week 1, but Braelon Allen's the one that really kind of stands out to me. I'm curious if there are others that kind of fit that same mold for you. Like, you don't want to overreact to that RB2 performance, or if there are some that you do want to react to, like the Tyron Tracy's. Definitely want to kind of highlight.
Biggest one I wanted to overreact to is the one you just said not to overreact to. I've uttered a lot of Braelon Allen hate on this program, but I was really damn impressed with what I saw out of him. It was night and day to me to how he ran at Wisconsin. I thought that the two big things that I had issues with on his Wisconsin tape, one, he looked like pass protection was a foreign language to him. He had some really impressive pass pro reps this weekend. I think he's put in a ton of work on that, clearly. And then two, just indecisive. Like, he was just sort of this big, plodding guy who never really got moving downhill. I thought he was way more decisive this week. As soon as he had the hole, he was moving quickly. He wasn't just sort of plodding around. He looked like he remembered that he was a 240-pound running back. I certainly, if people are going to make this a thing where they're worried about Breece Hall or whatever, I'm out on that. But from a perspective of, I drafted Braelon Allen last night on that FFPC team, and I got him, quite a bit later than that first run of rookie handcuffs. If he's clearly separating himself from Isaiah Davis as the number 2, then, maybe he could be a similar value to like the Tyler Algier, even Blake Corum, Trey Benson grouping this year. That seems plausible to me.
I think where I kind of like pause with this is, sure, we can think Braelon Allen is a more impressive runner than we may have previously, but like let's just play out a Breece Hall injury in our heads. Now we have Braelon Allen as potentially the lead back, probably the lead back, we'll say, in like a Nathaniel Hackett offense. Is that like getting us excited? Do we know that there's a role carved out there that is actually beyond like low end fantasy RB2 type of stuff? This is just kind of where
I do.
Yeah, okay, go.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers running backs historically are a gold mine.
That's fair.
Like, we've had Eddie Lacy go for over 16 points a game with Aaron Rodgers. We've had James Starks have fantasy value with Aaron Rodgers. Whenever Aaron Jones missed time, freaking Jamal Williams was like a plug and play RB1 for Aaron Rodgers. Like, the Aaron Rodgers running back role tends to be quite valuable. His running back throw rate is high. He's a guy that's really willing to put running backs out into space. Like, we've seen multiple different running backs actually put up like reasonable ADOTs for running backs with Aaron Rodgers. He has a high touchdown rate to running backs as well. And an efficiency as well. Like, if you look historically, Aaron Rodgers running backs, Ben Gretsch did a deep dive on this last summer, have like a pretty massive bump in efficiency playing with Rodgers versus other quarterbacks. I think a lot of that is the stuff he does at the line of scrimmage, where he's just consistently getting his team into optimal plays. Maybe you think Rodgers is washed, but I tend to think that at least a lot of what he does is sort of that cerebral aspect of the game that hopefully the ayahuasca hasn't rotted out of his gourd yet.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I guess kind of my point is just like, I'm picking Breece Hall in the first round because I think Breece Hall is like a transcendent running back talent who did the absolute most with the absolute least last year. Aaron Rodgers, yes, like raises the floor of that to a significant extent, but I still don't know if this is like a Blake Corum situation where it's like, okay, this offense isn't going to skip a beat and he's just going to slot right into the Kyren Williams role if he gets hurt and be averaging a 70% snap share and 16 plus fantasy points per game. Yeah, I feel like it just rarely works like this with handcuffs unless it's either specifically a system that we know is going to work like that, or a player that we have a lot more conviction on the talent of than we probably should with Braelon Allen right now.
That's
So
fair enough, for sure.
in your dynasty leagues, like if somebody's sending me for my Braelon Allen shares like a random 20-25 second, I'm accepting that right now.
Yeah, for sure.
But would you actually be the manager who's sending out 20-25 seconds to acquire Braelon?
I'm not paying twos for handcuffs.
Got it. Yeah, just wanted to double check. Wanted to make sure, and I like the question. Is Allen like a Tyler A
I think
backup?
Tyler Algier is a similar comp to me. Like they're both behind the two best young running back workhorses in football. We have more confidence Algier's good because we've seen it, not in a preseason game. So I prefer Algier, but I do think it's a bit similar. I'll stick with the rookies. Yeah, exactly.
Hasn't been said once yet. Not once.
The two rookies that stuck out most to me were Worthy and Brian Thomas. We've seen the Chiefs fuck around with their personnel, especially at the pass catcher positions early season in the entirety of Andy Reid's tenure. So, I was almost bracing for the impact of Xavier Worthy's playing behind Justin Watson or some goofy shit. I don't even know if he's still on the team. It's just Watson.
Darius Toney.
Sky Moore, whatever. Like I thought we were going to have to put up with some sort of nonsense, at least in the preseason. But that was not the case. They came out snap one, and it's Brown, it's Worthy, it's Rice. And then Hollywood Brown gets hurt. He is projected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. Expect that's probably going to miss between 1 and 3 weeks of actual regular season play. That's a very clear runway. It seems like at this point, Rice is probably not getting suspended, but certainly not for sure. There's a chance that Worthy is the only one of those 3 active week 1. And I think a very good chance he's one of only 2 of them active week 1. I think to me, the way they handled this offseason and the way they came out in the preseason game with those 3 wide receivers, it's sort of saying like enough with the bullshit, right? Like we had to do these stupid route rotations because we had a bunch of crappy receivers. Now we went out and got real receivers. We're going to play our real receivers. I've not been like a massive Worthy bull in a vacuum as a prospect or to some people, but he's the guy I think I have like the highest on versus ADP in my redraft rankings right now. And in a dynasty standpoint, I would be considering pouncing too, because this is a spot where if he's going to play, like he's going to do enough stuff with Patrick Mahomes, if he's going to be on the field all the time, that I think his value floor over the first half of the season is actually pretty stable. And he's also the guy where and I'm not saying I predict this, I don't even really predict this, but if it's week 3 and he's just killing it, then he's just unattainable, right? Like it's like, he's just goated and he's with Patrick Mahomes, like top 5 dynasty wide receiver, locking in, right? That's the upside there with Worthy. So I do think you want to make sure you get your exposure in right now before potentially this thing gets away from you. Ryan, what do you think on this question here? Nabers or Worthy in a first?
Nabers or Worthy, and
I'll fill in the blanks. I'll call this a 2025 projected mid first.
I think I'm Nabers, honestly. I don't know if that's gonna be agreed here. What do you guys think?
It's definitely Nabers.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I do think I'm still on Nabers' side, but that one's really tough.
I think like to explain my thought there a little bit and also kind of responded to Jacob. I agree.
Well, I cut myself off halfway through. I was about to say I was definitely Nabers on draft day. Like in May, I was definitely Nabers. I'm a little. This offer would probably paralyze me to the point that I wouldn't make either side of the deal.
Yeah. Did you see? If you saw like the look on my face when I first read it, that's same feeling. I would just say kind of everything Jacob just laid out about it could be weak. So I agree first that the floor through the first half of the year probably pretty decent. I think worst case you're looking at like kind of the type of usage that like a Zay Flowers got last year. Maybe not in total target volume, but at least in terms of he's getting in motion, he's getting kind of all the easy like Mickey Mouse route stuff. Like it fills the stat sheet, it looks decent, he gets some target volume. I think that is most likely now going to happen with Worthy. But what I would just say is, as far as who's going to be the guy where you look up and it's week 3 and he's awesome and he's like a goated dynasty asset now, that can just as easily be Rashee Rice, right? And we've kind of seen it too. We've got like a sneak peek in the last 8 weeks of the season last year. I wrote up a huge Rashee Rice blurb in my Age Curves article that came out today. But basically, even when he was on the field with Travis Kelce, he was already putting up like low-end fantasy wide receiver 1 points and usage. So I am leaning toward like Rice. If you're asking me, okay, like Rice and Worthy kind of go next to each other ish in the format we don't talk about, and also just in normal redraft leagues, then I'm clicking Rice every time. But yeah, I mean, I fully understand that if it's a 60% chance it's Rice, at 40% chance it's Worthy who hits the exact same type of trajectory.
Agreed on that. Very, very into both those guys. I drafted both of them on my FFPC entry last night. All right, Ryan, your takeaway.
Yeah, so my takeaway is a guy that didn't play, which is often just as important in the preseason. I think Ken Walker's going to be a 3-down workhorse this year, and I never thought I would be saying that even like a month ago. I distinctly remember making fun of Scott Barrett in DMs for him saying and thinking this, but I was a couple of weeks late apparently, because we now have quotes from OC Ryan Grubb. We have multiple quotes from reputable reporters, like from Jeremy Fowler, that the team views him as a 3-down back. We have all of his receiving efficiency metrics from last year to fall back on. He top 10 in yards per out run, missed tackles forced per reception, all the nerdy fancy stat stuff. And also, he didn't play at all, nor did any of the starters, and Charbonnet did. So that, I feel like that tells you.
Is JSN not a starter?
Okay. I knew you were going to say that.
I thought this was subtle shade. Was this subtle shade?
No, it wasn't subtle shade. I'm into JSN this year. I actually like JSN this year. But anyways, they mostly did not play their starters. It was only Zach Charbonnet and JSN. That tells you right there that Ken Walker is likely viewed as a cut above these guys, right? And that's music to my ears. I mean, I don't know. For me, it's like a question of, okay, if I now think this about Ken Walker, how high am I going to rank him? How high am I going to take him? From like a redraft perspective, I don't think I can get above like a Pacheco or an ETN certainly, but from a dynasty perspective, I think Ken Walker is a better running back than an Isaiah Pacheco, which I think we've had this exact same conversation on these airwaves before, Jacob. So yeah, I'm kind of leaning back into Ken Walker for the first time in his career. I'm just kind of looking at it like this could be the thing where it only takes one coach to suddenly decide a running back is capable of catching passes before it sticks, and he's capable of it for the rest of his career, right? So yeah, just thoughts swirling in my head about Ken Walker for the last week. Ever since 5 for 5 last week when I was tweeting about him, this is kind of all I've thought about.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty optimistic on him this year. It's the first year I've been pretty decisively in on Walker. He's one of, like, especially in a redraft context, like I was writing up my redraft rankings earlier this weekend. I was like, man, like when we're out of underdog world and the running backs are being pushed back up again, I'm like looking at, if I don't get one of McCaffrey, Brees, or Bijan, like what running backs can I possibly justify before I get to like the 9th round? And it's pretty much just James Cook and Ken Walker for me are like the 2 running backs at ADP that I can even stomach. So Walker's gonna be a big part of my 2024 plan. I agree with that take.
So they're going like back to back in ADP right now. Who are you feeling a little bit better about if you were in a startup today, taking Kenneth Walker or James Cook?
Walker for me, I think in Dynasty. Cook is like a little bit more of a Bills 2024 take for me, where like I'm very, very into very into Cook, and I'm also very, very into Ray Davis. Like I just think that backfield is going to produce a lot of fantasy points based on what we saw to Joe Brady this year, and based on how little I think of their receiving weapons, but also how highly I think of Josh Allen's ability to lead a viable offense. Walker, I think, is the better player.
Yeah, and I'll take the guy who plays at the goal line for the tiebreaker there. So yeah, would also want Walker.
Okay, the one time that I've had that decision, at least so far this offseason, I did go with James Cook. So we'll see if that comes back to bite me. But I don't know. It is a pretty compelling case. Although I'm just hoping it's not like a scenario, in the NBA Summer League, whenever the second-year player comes in and he's just playing one game just to show he's that much better than everybody else, or he's got what he needs, and then he kind of disappears off and is just sitting there on the bench, looking stylish. But maybe I hope that's not Zach Charbonnet for the rest of this, because they're like, okay, yeah, he's fine, but I don't know.
Gotta say, Seattle ran 79 plays in this game. They've typically, under the Pete Carroll sloth machine, been among the league lows in plays per game almost every single year. 79 plays with this new coaching staff. And then I don't know if you checked out all the stupid, ridiculous fuckery that the Bears were doing, but like, what an upgrade. We get Shane Waldron out of the building. We get Ryan Grubb in. We got dude having Gerald Everett run the same amount of routes as DJ Moore and Roma Dunze. And it's like, we got Roschon isn't in to play third down. So I guess we got to put Travis Homer in to play third downs instead of using Swift. Like, just Waldron is like the most overthinking it coordinator. I don't know how the Bears keep hiring these gimmicky losers to coach their offense, but despite everything I just said,
will he be coaching the Raiders a year from now? Is
he will
like the Bears to Raiders pipeline following Getsy's footsteps?
Despite what I just said about Shane Waldron, though, take of the weekend for me was that, like, slightly dampered now by this JJ McCarthy injury, but I came away really impressed with every rookie quarterback we saw. Unfortunately, Drake May played like 3 snaps, so don't really get to include him in this discussion one way or the other. But I guess it was a nice screen pass he threw. But Caleb, I thought, looked absolutely outstanding. Just as advertised. I remember it brought back the memories of watching him in college, especially his second year when he was sort of just becoming a phenomenon that year at USC, when everybody was slowly kind of realizing what we were watching. And it was like every Saturday there would be a new clip going around of what did Caleb Williams do this weekend, and you're sending it around to your friends. Oh my God, can you believe this guy? That, like, I got that immediate excitement back when I watched him make that absurd rollout throw to Komet. He has the really fun improvisation on the screen pass to Swift that goes like 40 yards. And a really nice play more. Just absolute joy. Daniel's not a lot of usage because they ran the ball so much on his drive, but still winds up getting the rush touchdown. Really beautiful pass to De'Ami Brown. I thought McCarthy, like outside of the interception, looked totally dynamic, and I'm excited about him when we do get to see him play. And then even Nix, I thought was a little up and down early, but got things together, showed off his athleticism. I came away thinking this whole 2024 rookie class. I didn't mention Penix, but I thought he was probably the least impressive of the bunch, but I still thought he was pretty good. He had some really nice throws. I think if you invested in this 2024 rookie class in any format, like I come away pretty excited on everyone. And the only one that you don't get that excitement is because either they got injured or May just basically didn't play. But I don't think he did anything wrong. What are your guys' thoughts on these guys?
So I love that even though they ran the ball a lot, we got to see Jayden Daniels in really high fantasy point value situations, being able to run the ball in from the goal line. So that's a nice plus. We were a little curious if he would actually be able to have any of those opportunities. It was still off scripted, not necessarily a design thing, but it's nice to see him running it in from up close and just making plays down the field. Absolutely love to see it. Back whenever Jordan Love was still being kind of inefficient last season, he was still just getting really high value opportunities. So throwing the ball downfield, making some plays with his legs. We're going to get to see some of that again with Jayden Daniels. So that makes me really excited. And unfortunately, I do think that the time to buy him is starting to pass. So at least for the next 2 seasons, maybe we can reevaluate after that. But I think that he looked really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, my only take here is I'm salty that May didn't get in on the action. I was at the game, and it was kind of like blink and you miss it type of deal. Like, yeah, it was. We're gonna have him handed off a bunch of times and throw to Antonio Gibson twice. So that's really my only addition to this. Is that you would think it would be smart to get your rookie playing time in the preseason. What a concept! What am I holding an L? Why do I have an L?
No, Luke McCaffrey
No,
is still in the
he's
mix.
asking if Luke McCaffrey is still in the mix.
We're not to 5 for 5 yet, so you haven't taken the L yet.
Yeah.
Wait. Okay. Yeah. Fully thought I was being handed an L there. So the question is, is Luke McCaffrey still a thing?
I'm gonna take this to assume he means is he still draftable in seasonal formats, but maybe I'm wrong about that. That's kind of what I'm feeling now.
I don't know if Luke McCaffrey was draftable in seasonal formats that aren't like underdog where you need where the wide receiver depth is ridiculous. And maybe this is just like a philosophical thing. I don't really want to late rounds of my redraft leagues, I'm stockpiling running backs. Those are the players where they need one injury or whatever one thing to break their way, and they have usable fantasy volume. That's not necessarily the case with wide receivers.
We can talk underdog or like best ball where you're, we're drafting some pretty shitty wide receivers in best ball.
Yeah.
He's saying in a keeper league. How many guys are you keeping in a keeper league to where Luke McCaffrey is entering your keeper considerations? Like most keeper leagues I'm in, you keep like 1 or 2 guys.
How are you keeping him? He's
a rookie.
Well, no, I think he means would you draft him late in a keeper league?
Okay.
As in, like, then you get the process of keeping him. I would need to be keeping like 12 players for that to really have a consideration. Because like most keeper leagues that I'm in, it's like 1 keeper, 2 keepers, 3 keepers, and we're usually talking about superstars with those spots. I mean, obviously, if you took like Puka in the last round, you're dunking all over your league this year. So maybe worth a shot. But yeah, I don't know. I think Tom's the Luke McCaffrey guy on the show. Maybe Lucas liked him too. If I'm not mistaken.
Do like him, not as much as Tom, and also with just like the general depth that Washington has, he's still a little bit further down there for me to really consider him. Like I'm doing Dyami Brown over him. So
yeah, and I would just kind of echo those thoughts just on keeper leagues. Like every keeper league question I get asked is like, should I keep Devon Achane in like the 12th round or like Rashee Rice in the 13th? Like those are the type of impacts you're hoping to get out of your keepers, right? So yeah, I don't like it. Insert rookie here. Could he be keeper viable a year from now? Sure. But McCaffrey's not one of the bets I would like to make there. I'd rather pick Tracy in a keeper league.
All right, that's 3 minutes we've just devoted to Luke McCaffrey. I did my 2 takes. I want to say each of you have done one. Maybe whoever has their take left, one of you guys go.
All right, Ryan, you want to go?
Okay, I'll go. And this is less of a take and almost more of just like I wanted to bring this up to Jacob and see what he thought about it. So the Brock Bowers usage was very interesting. Okay,
cool as hell.
So from Graham Barfield's preseason recap article, he had it as 5 snaps from inline, 3 snaps out of the backfield, 2 out wide, and 1 in the slot. I went and watched each of those snaps right before this, and I counted 1 like actual route from each of those spots. He had a target on the backfield route and the out wide route where it was just completely wide open. I don't know what to think about this because Mayer also played all of these snaps, mostly from inline. It was a lot of blocking. Bowers' blocking looks pretty decent, I thought. So I guess that is like a positive. I just don't know what to think of this. Because normally it's like, okay, like that this is sick and based. Like we have a tight end catching passes out of the backfield. I'll take any passes a tight end's going to catch. But I also, like, if this were a different coaching staff, maybe I would have less reservations about it. Like, I don't know. Is this like the next, like, Arthur Smith is moving Kyle Pitts all around the formation so that Jonnu Smith can get open type of deal? I just don't know. I feel like I would have felt better almost. I feel like if Bowers just played like normally in line and in slot and like a normal tight end.
I don't think it's the Arthur Smith stuff, because like with Kyle Pitts, the problem was that he was basically just being used as an outside receiver constantly. Yeah. And so they weren't really giving him any layups, right? If the Raiders want to set Brock Bowers up at fullback and let him run like a clear first read flat route, like, I'm all for that. I would have killed for Kyle Pitts to get some of that. I think the nice thing of Bowers is, like, he just is a better traditional tight end than Pitts. So if a coach was less imaginative in how they used him, I think he would do well with it. We'll see what happens with the route rate stuff. Like, I think that some of the, like, percentage of passing plays in which he was kept blocking is just pretty noisy. Like, that's just not, if you just like look across the league and historically, including Luke Getzey offenses, tight ends don't really have that high of a pass blocking rate. Like, even the ones like George Kittle is a guy who has like kind of an annoying pass blocking rate. Cole Kmet, admittedly, with Luke Getzey, had a slightly annoying pass blocking rate, but he, like, it was never more than like 10-15%. Like, the idea that he or anyone is going to be pass blocking on 30% of the snaps that are out there, I just don't think that that's really a thing that happens very much in the NFL. What does happen, obviously, is that they're not on the field for enough routes, but that I'm way less concerned about, because I think that the Raiders correctly realize that their four best pass catchers are all include these two tight ends. And, you know, it also was weird because Davante Adams didn't play in this game. So, like, it was even more pronounced. Whether they do this much 12 personnel with Davante Adams in there instead of, you know, Trey Tucker, we'll see. But if the idea is like, yeah, like Mayer, we want to keep on the field because he's good enough to be on the field. I agree with them. He's going to be the more traditional inline tight end. He's going to handle a lot of the block assignments. Like, that's fine with me. And then Bowers is going to play kind of all over the place. Like, I thought it was cool. You know, I think Bowers is like kind of just good enough to win no matter how it works, as long as they give him enough routes. But this I thought was more positive than negative. Like, the fact that they were going out of their way to scheme him up looks in a preseason game. Like, I don't know. That seems kind of encouraging to me. Seems like that they're making this an offense of like a lot of kind of set plays where it's like, which makes sense. If you have a young quarterback, a bad quarterback, but you have some very interesting weapons, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, I guess, to be like, this is the Adams play. This is the Bowers play. Like, and just sort of set your offense up like that probably makes it a little bit easier on Aiden O'Connell. Maybe it gets too gimmicky, but I don't know. What did you guys think?
Yeah, no, that the idea of like that this is the Bowers play, this is the Adams play. That's kind of what it looked like to me. Even on that on like the goal line snap, where Bowers ran a route from in line, that looked like it was supposed to be the Bowers play, but like the pick just like didn't really happen correctly. Like, it seemed like he would have been the first read, but there was a sack on the play anyway, so we won't know. But yeah, that I'm kind of with you. I think this is like cautiously optimistic. And if I've gotten in a lot of trouble for comparing other tight ends to like Dalton Kincaid as a bet, but hey, I don't know if you're speaking from like a redraft context now, if you're going to pick a tight end where the point is, I think they're clearly the most talented tight end on their team, but there's another one who could potentially soak up snaps and routes that could be kind of annoying, that I mean, you can take Bowers several rounds after Kincaid. So he doesn't have Josh Allen, but yeah, that's kind of, I'm just seeing a lot of Dalton Kincaid parallels. I feel like the deeper we get into preseason.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the whole idea of like, we can get into the Kincaid discussion too. I thought he had really bullish usage this week. There's like a weird thing where people think that if another tight end is playing, it's automatically bad. And that's just not true. It's bad if the Bills are saying we want to be in 11 personnel all the time and we want to rotate Kincaid and Knox. That's bad. if they're just saying we want to be in 12 personnel half the time, but then every time we're in 11, it's Kincaid, that's great. Like the more 12 snaps, the better, right? You'd rather compete. Maybe less the case with the Raiders because Mayer probably still actually is a better target earner than Trey Tucker. But like if you're the Bills and you're telling me as a Kincaid manager that you can either compete with Curtis Samuel for a target on a given play or Dawson Knox on a given play. Like, I'm choosing Dawson Knox every single time. So like I don't think that the 12 personnel stuff is bad. I think that's actually bullish. I think the fear is more sometimes when they say stuff like, oh, we're going to be using both tight ends. The alarm bells are, okay, what if they actually aren't going into 12 personnel all the time and they're just going to rotate these guys, which is kind of what happened with like Atlanta last year.
Yeah. But I mean, so the Bills said this exact same thing last offseason and I know this because when I was trying to write a Dalton Kincaid blurb, I kept getting 2023 news items showing up and I'm trying to source certain statements. And it's like, oh, they're saying all the same things about how they want to play more 12 personnel. The Bills were not materially higher in 12 personnel rate on their dropbacks than any other team in the league last year. It was really like the Patriots and the Falcons who played a lot of 12 personnel on their dropbacks. Every other team in the league was not that much kind of bunched together. There's a tweet somewhere out there on my Twitter in the last week, but yeah, I don't know. I get scared when the thesis is we're going to play a lot of 12.
I just love seeing somebody who was that versatile in college. And like, that's what makes him so valuable is the fact that you can put him anywhere on the field to get those sort of like matchups to be just a absolute menace for the defense. And they're actually going to kind of move him around, try to put him in very advantageous situations to be able to use him like that. So I'm really bullish right now. I think I'm actually probably a little bit more bullish if Aiden O'Connell does win that job over Gardner Minshew. I do think Gardner Minshew is going to do just chucking it up to Devontae Adams way too much for my Brock Bowers shares, but I was really, really pleased with that.
Lucas, I think your last take to go here. But before we get that take, let's quickly do a little break here. We'll be back in just 60 seconds. All right, Lucas, what is your take here? Finish us out for this section of the pod before we get into our 5 for 5. Lucas, you're on mute.
Hey.
Son of a gun. First time in like weeks I've done that. My take, it's a little bit of a piggyback off of some points that you've made throughout the offseason, Jacob. And that was the Denver running backs room. I was really encouraged by Jaleel McLaughlin's performance. I like that he got as many carries as he did. I like how efficient he was in his usage. I like that he was getting targets out of the backfield. So all of those stuff, big pluses. He's still value right now with where he's going. But the fact that there were so many running backs being used does kind of concern me. Jacob, you've been saying for weeks now that Audric Estime, it is the preseason. But I don't know, just the way that they were using Audric Estime, I can very much see where he is going to be sniping some touchdowns, sniping some targets, sniping short down work from, say, a Williams, which I did have to move Williams' jersey. He doesn't deserve to be over here anymore. So I did have to move him in my room. So that kind of scares me, but also scares me about potentially cutting into Jaleel McLaughlin having an even bigger season. So I'm a little bit scared, but I'm really encouraged by how efficient he was in his outing. He was the only running back on the roster average over 4 yards per carry, except for Tyler Batty. So we'll see, but I'm still going to be hopeful. Thoughts on Denver's running back room?
Thing I liked. So if people didn't, it was basically they started really weird rotation with Denver because they started Jarrett Stidham in this game, and then they go to Nix. They've also already announced that Nix is going to play or is going to start in week 2 of the preseason. And I think we all kind of expect Nix to start week 1 of the regular season. So how they did the skill players was a little odd because it wasn't quite straightforward of a 1s and 2s is what you normally expect. So Cortland Sutton played snaps he started the game and he played a full complement of snaps with Stidham. He also stayed out there and he played with Nix. The rest of the wide receivers kind of rotated, where they did Reynolds and Patrick primarily with Stidham, although Mims played the first snap of the game and then no others with Stidham. And then Mims comes back in with Nix alongside Vele and Humphrey and Franklin. And then at running back, it starts with Javonte plays every early down. P. Ryan plays every long down and distance. Then Jaleel comes in and he plays all the early downs. P. Ryan keeps playing some long down and distance. And then Estime comes in and they let him stay on for his own third downs, which was, I thought, very, very notable. Watson and Beatty come in at the very end, mostly with Zach Wilson. That was the part that I thought was most notable, because if P. Ryan makes his team, it's very clear why. He's playing every time it's a 3rd and 10. He's playing the 2-minute drill. And that's going to be really annoying, because now it's probably means that Estime is a healthy scratch, I assume. And then it's Javonte is an early down only role, and Jaleel is this little change of pace role. I think that Estime is the guy, based on how I saw that usage, that they think is the potential other option to play those long down and distance snaps. And I thought he looked good. And P. Ryan volleyed a ball directly into Kenny Moore's hands. So I think that's the encouraging part. If you're in on this backfield, we want P. Ryan out for the sake of any of the other 3 that you might be investing in. And overall, I think it was a pretty good outcome for that. I've been consistent that I think Jaleel is the one that's being overdrafted, in that I just think he has kind of a self-contained role. I think he's going to play 10 to 15 snaps per game. I think he's going to look awesome in them. He's going to be efficient in them. I just think when it comes to goal line work, early down rushing, and then the long down and distance stuff, I think that they just don't want a 180-pound UDFA to do that. I think that is going to be a Javonte and an Estime split of some sort. And I'm betting on P. Ryan to not make the team, but I'm really hoping that last part holds true.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that Blake Watson finds some way to make that roster, that P. Ryan's gone, but we'll see.
I think that's like really all it comes down to is this. I think we preemptively got interested in this backfield, like just assuming P. Ryan would be cut. And I mean, yeah, that certainly can still happen. I guess I would expect P. Ryan to get a lot of run in week 1 with the starters playing, but starting off with the long down and distance. That, like, I guess that checks out either way.
I mean, Juju started the game for the Patriots and then got caught like 3 hours later.
Exactly. So, maybe it's just kind of a push for all the Denver guys, I would say, as opposed to wanting to like spin a narrative about how actually P. Ryan played a lot, so he's going to stay on the team, or actually he sucked, so he's definitely going to get cut even harder now.
All right, we're going to come back and we are going to do our 5 for 5 preseason edition in just 60 seconds. All right, welcome back into Fantasy Points. And of course, keep in mind that if you would like to use all of the beautiful things that Fantasy Points has to provide, getting analysis from great minds like our very own Ryan Heath and several others, make sure for 10% off to use the code SCOREMORE. That's SCOREMORE, all caps, SCOREMORE, for 10% off for a Fantasy Point subscription. No better time than right now as we get into draft season. Let's do our 5 for 5. Everybody knows how this game is played. There's 5 players. I give more points the earlier you answer the questions. No Googling, no PFFing, no fantasy pointsing. If you must look at the chat, I will split your points with the chat, and I will know if you try to lie about not looking at the chat. This week, it's the preseason edition. All of the answers to this week's clues all led their teams in either passing yards, rushing yards, or receiving yards in a preseason week 1 game this year. Okay? So all either a receiving yards leader, rushing yards leader, or passing yards leader for their team. Most of the clues are going to be a mix of things about the player and things that happened in this week's preseason game. Obviously, depending on just how obscure the player is, I gave a little bit more or less away. All right. First player. This player was a standout high school hockey player who first picked up the game at the age of 3.
I think we can go to the next one.
Anyone got a hockey guess for 5 points? All right.
No.
Believe it or not, I
All
didn't look this
You're
one up.
American.
I would have gotten this.
We don't.
I would have gotten this right away. So is this player American? All right. This player is a rookie.
So he's a rookie and he played hockey at 3 years old.
Make some guesses. And he
Wow.
led his team in
Wow.
receiving yards, rushing yards, or passing yards.
Wow. All right. No.
I don't even want to dignify it with a guess. Yeah.
All right. This player primarily caught passes this weekend from Jeff Driscoll.
Now my head's spinning trying to figure out where Jeff Driscoll is right now. It was, oh man,
This is not good for the brand.
no.
Oof. Oof. I have nothing. I'm sorry.
You
All
can tell
right.
me Jeff Driscoll's on like 12 different teams right now, and I would
Okay.
like, yeah, I believe you. That makes sense.
We got Nick Fury in the chat did not know Jeff Driscoll was still in the NFL. All right. This player's final receiving line was 3 catches for 57 yards and 0 touchdowns. You guys suck ass.
No.
Yep. Sorry.
Box
All
score
right.
is a big
Final
right
clue.
now. We're box score watching in the preseason.
Final clue. This player was a round 2 pick in the 2024 draft from Kansas State University.
Ooh.
Benson.
Lucas,
Yeah, it's
I didn't know I had
Benson.
to raise my
Yeah.
hand.
you got a buzz. You got a buzz, Ryan. Lucas gets 1 point.
Yeah, it's
There we
not.
go. And also,
I'm
JJ
sorry,
FM
that's-
gets 2 points.
Yeah, I'm a little ashamed, but I'll take the point.
All right, you get 1 point.
That was rough.
Okay, that was the easiest player to guess. So, good job, folks.
Oh
It's
no!
only going to get harder from here. You might win this 1-0, Lucas. I thought you were going to get that on the first clue. I've been talking about this hockey thing all off season. All right. Okay. This player was the leading rusher this week for the Las Vegas Raiders. No one's got any guesses? I mean, you can
I'll
guess the
guess.
Raiders running
I'll
back.
guess,
There's only
yeah.
like 6 of them.
I'll guess. I hope he's still on the Raiders. Amir Abdullah.
Incorrect, but that is
Okay.
the Raiders running back. Yes, good
Okay.
guess. And a former preseason hero. Lucas,
the
you
process
got a
would work
Raiders
out.
running back for us?
No, I'm going to wait till the second guess. I'm going to play
Oh
the
my
system.
goodness. All right. This player made All Conference USA at the University of Texas, San Antonio.
I'm ashamed. Oh my gosh, I know who it is. I just can't think of their name. Oh, son of a gun. Oh. Ryan, you got the answer.
Is that where Madison went?
That is not where Madison went. He went to Boise State.
Okay.
All right. This player is in his second year after spending his entire rookie season placed on injured reserve beginning on May 24th of 2023.
Oh.
I guarantee you that both of you would have added him in dynasty leagues and then dropped him a week later when he went on injured reserve.
The guy they drafted who wasn't white.
UDFA.
Oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I just can't think of his name. Like I can see a picture of him. His name's gone. It's
All
yeah.
right.
Oh,
Okay. The next thing is going to be the stat lines. He went 11 carries for 32 yards and 0 touchdowns. I'm going to guess it's not going to help anybody. I think we're going to go to the fifth clue here. All right, fifth clue. Remember, we're looking for a hand or the word buzz or something signifying. His first name is a synonym for the word earnest, and his last name is a candidate for the Pennsylvania Senate. Ryan Heath.
Sincere McCormick?
That's correct for one
Hey!
point.
Let's go.
Oh my gosh.
I did not remember he was on the Raiders, gonna be honest. I just the synonym for earnest is what brought that into my
There we go.
that's the whole
Okay, 1-1.
all right.
You have to do a lot of name clues.
Plus,
here
the
for
chat
some
has a
of these
point
clues.
too.
Yeah, chat gets a point as well. Chat's at 3. Lucas is
Oh,
at 1.
chat's
Ryan
good.
is at 1.
Both of
Chat's
us.
killing this
Oh
game.
my gosh.
Okay.
You go, chat.
All right. I'm gonna just go on a limb and say I'm willing to bet the house that unless someone in the chat is Googling, in which case you're gonna be DQ'd because there's no way people would know this one. That this will be for 1 point. But I'm gonna read out the first 4 clues anyway, just to see.
Okay.
All right. This player is in his 3rd season from Austin P University.
All right.
All right.
Lucas has a look on his face like he's gonna guess it from just Austin P. But
This player led his team in receiving yards with 2 catches for 45 yards and no touchdowns.
keep going.
This player first saw NFL action last year with a line of 3 catches for 56 yards and 1 touchdown for the entire season.
Okay. Oh, for the entire season. I was thinking like one. I was like, all right, which DFS slate did he break? But yeah, probably not.
All right. This is a 3rd-year wide receiver playing for the Indianapolis Colts, wearing number 2.
Oh my gosh, this is rough. This is so rough.
All right, last clue. We're playing the name game. His first name is a musical profession, and his last name is the capital of Alabama.
Oh,
Ryan
DJ
Heath.
Montgomery. DJ Montgomery.
Correct. There we go. 1 point for Ryan.
I just need like
no.
Jeopardy style clues like this. I can figure those out. That's easy.
All right, we got a
I have all
2-1.
the names
Oh
already.
my gosh.
Yes, where
This is this has been very bad.
Okay. Ryan just wants to play name game trivia. Just ever if I just do clues about people's names, Ryan's gonna be locked in. All right. This player went 10 of 19 for 111 yards.
Like this week. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Nobody's cruising the box scores. Okay. This player was the 149th overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft.
Oh.
All right, I'm going to guess so
Okay.
I could have guessed before the last pick. I'm going to say Stetson Bennett.
That is incorrect, but very close.
I think.
Okay. Ryan, you get first guess on this one.
Okay.
This player is a Rose Bowl champion at Penn State University.
Oh God. Oh, I feel like I should definitely know this. I should definitely have just gotten that. At Penn State.
If you do not get it on this guess, then Lucas gets a guess, and I can't imagine he's not going to be correct on this question. 3,
I don't know.
2,
Yeah, no, it's Lucas.
1. Lucas, name that Rose Bowl winner.
Oh no!
Oh,
no!
no,
I
we're
saw-
getting a call.
the chat in a name, and now I'm second guessing myself, and I'm like, oh crap! Do I have my Penn State quarterbacks wrong?
Don't listen to
Oh
the
my
chat.
gosh.
Go follow your heart.
I'm going to say McSorley.
That's incorrect. All right.
I got my Penn State quarterbacks wrong.
Okay. We're going to need a buzz or a hand up. This player's last name is more commonly associated with a big red dog.
You take it.
It's Clifford. Yeah.
All right. Sean
Oh
Clifford.
my gosh.
It is. That will be 3 points for Lucas, 2 points for Ryan. We're going to the final round, and we don't even need to do double
Oh,
points.
I only have 1 point. I have, or sorry, now I have 2. I have 2 points. So don't give me that many. Yeah.
Okay, 2 points to 2 points. I don't need to do. I could do double points. I could do quadruple points. I could do 100 times the points. It doesn't matter. Whoever gets this one right on any question is going to be the winner of this hard-fought game of preseason 5 for 5. All right.
This has been rough.
And I'll just say it. This is the most notable player on the list. So I think this is going to be lively. You guys got to be ready to rock here. And I'm going to just say, chat, I'm going to ask that you do not participate in this one so that we can get a clear shot at a champion here with a tie score. I do greatly appreciate you guys. You've already clinched the win today. So the chat wins. Let these guys hack it out for second place.
The chat is closed on my screen.
Okay, or that. If you both promise to close the chat, then I'll let the chat
It is closed.
Let's do it that way. All right, chat, play along as much as you wish. Okay. In this weekend's preseason game, he played across the field from a quarterback who took his place in a must-win game.
No clue.
I'll repeat that just because that was a bit confusing. In this week's preseason game, the player we're looking for played across the field from a player who took his place in a must-win game. All right, that's clue number 1. Despite being a quarterback, this player did not lead his team in passing yards. He made this trivia game by leading his team in rushing yards.
Thought you were going to say in receiving yards. It was going to be really crazy.
All right.
Can I ask a question about the clue?
You can ask a question about the clue. I can't promise to answer it. But you
Was
can
the
certainly ask.
the must-win game that he took his place in an NFL game, or was it a college game?
I will answer that question. It was an NFL game.
Okay.
Okay.
Thought I was getting trolled there.
No, it's an NFL game. Yeah, so just so I can be super clear, the quarterback for the other team in this guy's preseason game took his start in a must-win NFL game. All right. And he led his team in rushing yards. Okay. In his second career start, he almost beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium, despite only completing 5 passes.
Right,
Come on.
I'm going to do a random guess here. I'm going to say Josh Dobbs, but I don't think that one's right.
Incorrect.
Is it random? Like Tyler Huntley?
That is incorrect. 2 clues remain. Second last clue. Okay. This player was drafted with the 89th overall pick in the 2022 NFL Draft.
(2022)
89th overall, 3rd round.
Took his place in a must-win game.
There were,
What
I
third
believe
round?
there were only
In a
2
must-win
quarterbacks drafted in the 3rd round of the 2022 NFL Draft.
It's
3rd round of 2022.
Nope. Okay, no,
Had
because
a
he was
spot
the
taken
third
in a
round.
must-win game, led his team in rushing yards, had completed 5 passes in an overtime loss against the Chiefs.
Mm.
You guys straight up bad. All right.
Yeah, this has been rough.
Yeah.
Okay. Last clue here.
Don't do like the name game thing because I'm gonna feel like a loser if I win on that.
No. This player's college is led by Jerry Falwell Jr.
Oh,
Ryan Heath.
Malik Willis.
That's correct.
Oh my
You are
god!
the winner.
I got it right because of
Oh my gosh, I was on the wrong team. No,
I know.
Oh my gosh,
That's why I was
no.
freaking out. I had to contain myself when you said Dobbs because I was like, you literally got the
Oh
other half of
my
the clue.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea
Someone's
that he
pointing out that
actually
was apparently
led the
86
team in
pick. That's
rushing.
possible. I don't think that was why you guys didn't get it. So I think
yeah.
that's probably
That was actually what threw me off. Yeah.
so. Apologies for taking that down wrong.
Oh,
I actually only had 4 clues written because I thought the other ones were very easy, so I had to change it. And I originally the clue was he's a 3rd round pick out of Liberty, and I just guessed on 89. I'm going to be totally honest. I thought I knew it off the top of my head.
wow. Oh, I feel
3rd round pick out of
so.
Liberty, I would have instantly.
I feel so dumb. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to go.
I thought you guys were going to get on
and-
clue 1.
Oh
Too
my
bad.
gosh.
And then
Yeah,
I thought that the Chiefs game was like a total giveaway. But anyway,
That was just.
I completely forgot about the Chiefs game, but
Yeah.
now that I'm looking back, I'm like, wow, those were some really, really good clues, and I'm so upset with myself.
5
I'm
out
going
of
to go.
16 and took the Chiefs to overtime in one of the weirdest games I've ever watched. I was absolutely
Yeah,
unhinged.
I'm going to go be
Anyway,
rocking
Ryan,
back and forth
you
in a
won.
shower
Would you
as I
like-
cry
I
myself
won.
to sleep.
Would you like to have a big victory speech? Your first victory here on Dynasty Points 5 for 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to win something for once in my life. I've been waiting.
And you
like
won it
all
based on
24
Jerry
years.
Falwell Jr. So
Yeah,
that's a
I'm
big
winning
win.
it based on name, like word association, and Jerry Falwell Jr. So I mean that kind of stings, but I don't know. You don't have to know that when you are looking at the trophy and the trophy case. They all count the same. So we'll get something set up here behind me. And yeah, I can just show off all my 5 for 5 wins. That's going to be my project the rest of the week.
All right. We're very, very excited for you, Ryan. Ryan, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on X at RyanJ_Heath. Just had my 2024 version of my age curves article, highly anticipated, come out today. That is going to be paywalled after 24 hours. So at some point, like early afternoon tomorrow, that is going behind the paywall. So if you want to check that out and you haven't yet, definitely go fantasypoints.com. Check out my 2024 age curves article. It's like 10,000 words. I don't know how I somehow made it double the length of the original piece, but yeah, I'm excited about it. I like it. I think people should check it out.
That's fantastic. Lucas, what's going on with you?
You can find me on Twitter at LGilbertFF. I've been doing some tool development so far in the off season. I'm hopefully going to have something ready to roll out here really soon. So stay tuned to that. And I will only let this loss make me stronger. I cannot lose on such a embarrassing fashion again. I'm going to go take a hard look at myself in the mirror after this and come back better.
Glad to hear that. All right, you can find all my stuff up on Thinking About Thinking. I have a lot of recent stuff out there. I dropped redraft rankings on Sunday. I dropped updated best ball rankings this week. I dropped a mailbag, as in I posted the bag. You can fill it up with mail. I will answer the mail this weekend. And then I did a review of my recent high stakes draft. I'm going to keep cranking out the content there all the way until we get to redraft season at jacobsanderson.substack.com. That's all for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. And clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose, and whatever else Tom says. Good night, everybody.
Oh, yeah, that's me. I forgot I have buttons I have to press tonight.
Good job. What?
What?
Why are you shaking your head? You're welcome.